Hi everybody, I'm Aaron Hernandez, and this is another Deckbox Top 10 list. With me again this week, I have Anthony Gestes and Daniel Jackson. Guys, welcome back.
Thanks for
Happy to be here.
We're really excited this week. We're getting to talk about new cards, which is everybody's favorite time in Magic. We have a top 10 list, which is top 10 cards out of the new Ravnica Allegiance set. This was a really tough list to put together. We had a few differences in each of our lists, and we all decided we needed to throw out an honorable mention. Anthony, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. I'd like to start off with Absorb. Wow, where can I start with Absorb? I played a lot in the Invasion Standard, and that's kind of where I started playing Friday Night Magic, so I have a lot of nostalgic attachment to Absorb. Which probably overinflates my opinion of it.
I mean, I do think that the life gain is going to be really good in Standard. It really looks like we're going to be facing an aggressive Standard.
Absolutely.
So that life gain on your counterspell definitely seems
We have a glut of 3-mana counterspells already in Standard, so adding another one that has an upside to it, I don't think there's any reason to believe that card won't see a lot of play.
Absolutely. I don't know that it's going to see any modern play, however. There's just way too many other counterspells that are better than it at the 2 mana cost.
Yeah,
so.
3 mana is a lot in Modern.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's my honorable mention.
Daniel?
My honorable mention is Angel of Grace. I think that it's going to have a lot of impact on Standard. I think that it is currently an hyped card that at Mythic Spot, I can see where people wanted it to do a little bit more. It's no Archangel Avacyn, but it is a 5-mana 5/4 with Flash and with Evasion and several other upsides.
Well, and I really think that people are underestimating how valuable the life gain will be in an aggressive Standard. And I mean, maybe Standard won't be aggressive, but I really think it will be, and I think that life gain is going to be a really big deal in a lot of mid-range white decks and controlling blue-white decks.
Yeah, so one of the things that surprised me was that the 6-mana exile go back to 10 is it's not sorcery speed, it's instant speed, it's whenever you want to do it. So
yep.
It could be very impactful at a surprise moment.
The thing that I saw about Angel of Grace that made me almost put into the top 10 was a tweet from Aliantrazi being like, so your opponent taps out for Banefire for the win, and then you flash an Angel of Grace, and
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
What was your honorable mention?
My honorable mention was one. I was actually really surprised you guys were as low on Skewer the Critics as you were, but I think it's going to be a big player in both Standard and Modern. A little less sold on the Modern. The burn deck is kind of tight. But 1 mana for 3 damage has been a great rate since Alpha, and I definitely think it's going to be a 4-of staple in Standard aggressive decks.
Well, I guess if you're right and we're wrong, then we're skewered critics. All right, should we start with our top 10?
Repsultly. At number 10, we have actually 5 cards. We have the Shocklands. They're going to make a huge impact on Standard. The reprints are always good for the price of Modern. And you can really play kind of any color combination you want in Standard right now.
The Shock Buddyland system has proven quite potent in the past, being able to have all your Glacial Fortresses and such untapped with your other dual lands.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best mana we've had since the fetches left.
Yep.
So you've got perfect mana for any deck that you want to run.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers are there. You can run them in however many you need to make sure that your buddy lands are coming in untapped and your shock lands aren't doing too much damage to you.
So let's move on. At number 9, we have a Gruul card. We have a Gruul Spellbreaker. Anthony, this is a hasty 3/3, basically, right?
Yeah. The Riot ability is something that is going to be very interesting and give red and green players a lot of play within their deck. Because sometimes you want haste, sometimes you want an extra +1/+1 on your creature. So being able to decide when the correct time to use which ability is going to be a hurdle we're probably going to need to jump in the first couple of weeks.
Well, and this really feels like one of 2 cards that are really going to punish control out of Gruul, and we're going to be talking about the other one in just a second here.
I'd like to note that Riot is not a singular ability. It can happen multiple times. So if you have something that gives us a card Riot, and you're casting a card with Riot, then you get to trigger it twice. And I think that Gruul Spellbreaker has the possibility to break into Modern, It'll be interesting to see if it goes into a Jund deck or not. It's a 3-mana 3/3 with haste that gives you hexproof during your turn.
I was about to say, we haven't even mentioned the other block of text on the card, the hexproof thing.
Yeah, so it stops Settle the Wreckage.
That's a big deal.
Control decks cannot settle you when you have this card out, and it has haste. So
and one of the biggest things about this card, in my opinion, is you can cast a turn 2 off Landwar Elves.
We have
turn
Landwar
2,
Elves in standard.
Turn 2 on the play, crunching in for 3, or even turn 2 playing a 4/4, depending on the matchup. Either of those are going to be really good. You're going to get in a lot of beats really fast. Now, at number 8, we have a card very near and dear to my heart, Frilled Mystic, the new Mystic Snake. This is a 3/2 instead of a 2/2, but when it enters the battlefield, it counters a spell. And the best part about it is its creature type. It is a elf lizard wizard.
I think people get hung up on the lizard wizard part and forget the elf part entirely.
It has 2 great creature types attached to it. It is a wizard and it is an elf. And both of those have synergies in standard right now.
You're just being so mean to lizards. I don't know. It has flash too. You didn't I guess Mystic Snake. I didn't play with Mystic Snake, so
it is important that we point that out.
It is a flash 3/2 that counters the spell.
you missed quite a gem in both visits in standard. Mystic Snake took
here's my chance to see it.
Oh, it's going to be great.
At number 7, we have a control card, Kaya's Wrath. They printed a 4-mana Wrath in standard for the first time in a very long time.
So I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think that this is necessarily just a control card. I think that the Orzhov mechanic Afterlife plays very well with Kaya's Wrath. And it's Orzhov colors, obviously. So a wipe spell that you get creatures, you gain life. That is the card does say you gain life for creatures that you control that die,
which is exactly what Orzhov wants to be doing.
If you're playing a bunch of Afterlife cards, you're wiping the board and getting new creatures.
Oh yeah, that's a way to you definitely break the parity. If you gain 3 or 4 life and untap with 3 or 4 spirits, that's a really good Wrath.
And with its super intensive mana cost being double white, double black, it's hard to see it push too hard into a 3-color deck, but I think Orzhov is going to be a great place for it to live.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think Orzhov and then a black-white heavy control deck probably splashing to Fairy.
Yeah,
seems like it's
an Esper deck. That seems somewhere I would want to go.
I think it's a good option.
So at number 6, we have a
Azorius card.
There we go.
Yeah,
that's
Deputy of Detention. Number 6 is Deputy of Detention. I personally think this card is going to see more modern play than it will standard play. I think it's going to be a good standard sideboard card for maybe some control decks or some of those strategies that don't have a lot of creature removal. But I think that it goes nicely into a Bank Company deck as a prime example in modern. So it's what Reflector Mage probably should have been. And now you can play both.
And I can definitely see in standard if tokens are a really big part of the format, it definitely gets a lot better.
Absolutely.
And both Orzhov and Selesnya, which are decks right now, definitely could make this card see a lot more play.
Just exiling all of your opponent's 1/1 life-linking soldiers is probably going to be a huge upside.
At number 5, we have a card that I really think is going to define the standard format coming up, and that is Rhythm of the Wild. It's a 3-mana enchantment that gives all your creatures riot and makes your creature spells uncounterable.
I think this card is going to blow the doors off of standard. With this card being very similar to Fires of Yavimaya, we're getting Absorb, another invasion-like card, Frilled Mystic, which harkens back to Mystic Snake from Apocalypse. This standard format is shaping up to harken back to a much older time.
One that you really enjoyed, it seems.
Absolutely.
The control player in me hates this card.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It gave control players Fires of Yavimaya just without the uncounterable ability. It gave control players a fit.
In between this and Spellbreaker, you can really see the Gruul deck coming together. You have on 1 Landwar Elves, and you can consistently do on turn 3 either a Rhythm of the Wild or a Gruul Spellbreaker, both of which are going to punish your control decks. They're going to get your decks out of the gate fast. One of the things that's great about Rhythm of the Wild is the riot stacks, like Daniel was talking about earlier. So the second one just means you get a +1/+1 counter and haste.
I do not envy the player that has to sit down across from Rekindling Phoenix. That's a 5/4 with haste.
Oh,
Yeah, that's rough.
Wow.
And even just attacking for it, even just attacking, you can give the token +1/+1 in haste.
You can give it, or you could just.
Oh no, is it non-token creatures?
I would have to relook at the card. I think it is non-token creatures.
Yeah, that seems to be a theme with Rule this time.
Yeah, they're trying to stay
Probably
away.
good because I would hate to see that Orzhov deck that we were talking about also figure out a way to splash this and give all of their tokens +1/+1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would give.
Also,
that would give
Martial
Naya,
Multitudes with
yeah.
haste would
No,
not
that
be,
would be
would be
terrible.
bad.
Yeah, Naya or Abzan.
Yeah.
Would just, or
4-color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 4.
Number 4, we're back on the control side of things. We have Bedevil. Killing things, always good. The mana cast is a little intensive, though, Anthony.
Yeah, I think it might push us towards more of like a Grixis, or we get to see what Rakdos has to offer for a control shell. But you get to destroy just about anything.
So I think this card fits nicely into a Mardu control shell.
Okay.
That's playing those Orzhov creatures that we talked about, some of the larger ones that come back so that you can Kaya's Wrath and still get some value out of it. So less of a counter spell control, more of a tap out control sort of thing.
Makes sense to me. Between Bedevil and Vraska's Contempt, do you think Planeswalkers are going to be less playable in the upcoming standard?
I don't think that Planeswalkers will be less playable. I think that they will need to be played better. A lot of people right now, 5 mana, jam my Teferi, untap my 2 lands, pass the turn. With a 3 mana and a 4 mana answer to Planeswalkers being available, I think that you're going to find Planeswalkers need to be played in the right situations more often.
I can definitely see that. There are a lot of answers to them, but Teferi is just too good of a Magic card not to see play.
I agree. I don't think it will stop Planeswalkers from seeing play. I think it will stop how we play them.
So at number 3, we have Growth Spiral, a card I am very excited about. I love ramping and drawing cards, and that's what Growth Spiral does. We have a green and blue to draw a card and put a land from your hand into play. Definitely fits into the Turbo Fog deck in Standard, but also maybe will open up some new archetypes that haven't been played before. I don't think we've ever seen an Instant Speed Explorer, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, we've been messing around with this card, you and I, for a couple of days now, and have found that it can do some pretty silly things. Even if it's just Growth Spiral, play a land, and opt, draw 2 extra cards, cycle some cards through your hand. It seems like it's going to be a pretty powerful addition to some decks that haven't seen play, like you were saying, that have opened up with Shocklands now being available as well.
Yep, and then Turbo Fog, it seems great in Turbo Fog. If you don't need to fog, you just draw a card, play a land, get one step closer to your Nexus of Fate.
Yep, ramp to your Nexus of Fate. Sounds terrible.
I'm looking a little further back to Modern for Growth Spiral. I think this might open up a controlling Scape Shift sort of Tamer build deck. So you keep your mana open for your Remand or your Mana Leak, and if they don't cast a spell, you get to ramp.
Play a little less linearly, get a little bit more interaction.
Very interesting.
I'll be interested to see if that becomes a thing. Now, 1 and 2 are cards that we think are primarily going to see an impact in Modern. At number 2, we have Prime Speaker Vanifair, which is a card I'm very excited about. Very similar to Birthing Pod, except on a 2/4 creature.
Anytime you see a banned card attached to a creature, it always sets off warning lights, red flags.
Yep.
I think these cards are both very similar in that they cheat the mana.
Yeah.
They're very good at allowing you to put spells into play for free, and consistently, when you've seen that in any format, free spells can be a nightmare and can be terrifying. I'm thinking back to Marvel.
Aetherworks Marvel,
Aetherworks
the energy
Marvel.
mechanic. Yeah. Absolutely.
Those free spells, man, they'll get you every time.
Casting Emrakul and such, off of the, just getting the cast trigger and then putting the body into the battlefield still.
I Prime Speaker and Electro Dominance both, I think, are along those similar veins. And I think they'll make for some interesting decks in Standard, but I don't know if they'll be Tier 1, as it were, decks.
So the 2 things that I'm most excited for with Prime Speaker, I love toolbox decks, and anything that lets you search your library for a creature means that you can build a toolbox out of your main deck, out of your sideboard, and you can go and get different hate cards if you want. But the thing that really sold me on the card was that you could go off with just a Birds of Paradise. You sack the Birds of Paradise, you go and get a Scrib Ranger, you sack the Scrib Ranger, you go and get a Renegade Rallier, you blink that Renegade Rallier with a Restoration Angel, and then you sack the Restoration Angel to go get a Kiki Jiki. And just any card that you can untap with and win the game is a really big deal, especially in a format that has Court of Calling.
There's a Deceiver Exarch in there somewhere, right?
Yeah,
You get the... Yeah.
You sack the Scrib Ranger again to go get the Deceiver.
You get Deceiver, okay, yeah.
But all those cards are just cards you play in a Kiki Court deck for the most part.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
sounds terrifying to me. That's like a turn 3 combo to a Kiki Jiki.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
the Birds of Paradise doesn't have to be untapped, does it?
No, it
Oh
doesn't.
gosh. All right.
Yep, it's pretty good, pretty explosive, and I really like the interaction with Court of Calling. And Daniel spoiled just a little bit ago, our number one card, the card we are most excited about out of Ravnica Allegiance is Electro Dominance.
I don't think it should come as a surprise that this is our number one card. It's a card that a lot of people are talking about, a lot of pros are talking about. Decks are flying around in cyberspace right now with ad nauseum. Just the fact that you can tap 2 mana and play Ancestral Vision
That's good value.
at instant speed on your opponent's end step is gross. There's a lot of silly stuff that Electro Dominance is going to let you do. The fact that it breaks the timing barrier for all spells. Casting your Planeswalkers at instant speed, maybe not as important.
No.
See, but casting New Mizzet at instant speed.
Casting
that's
New
pretty good.
Mizzet?
See, I actually think that it is going to see a little more standard play than people think. I think that dropping your Niv Mizzet in or something, or even a Crackling Drake in at instant speed while killing something is something that the blue-red control decks are at least going to take a look at.
I think that it could see play in almost any deck that can cast it. If you want to 3 damage, put in Gruul Spellbreaker in response to your opponent's Settle the Wreckage, they can no longer target you.
That's pretty good.
There's a lot of opportunity for this card to make for some messy games of Magic, in Standard and Modern and possibly further.
Yep.
I would not be surprised to see this card show up a lot the next couple of months, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a Standard ban again. Honestly. I'm hesitant to say it because
that's a high bar.
I don't want to, but I think that free. We saw it with Aetherworks Marvel.
Yep.
We've seen it before. Free spells,
breaking the timing restriction rule.
breaking timing restrictions. It can cause a lot of problems for new and old players alike.
It's not intuitive to be able to cast a sorcery at your opponent's end step.
Yeah. In that Mardu deck that I was talking about, 4 mana or 6 mana because you have to pay the 2 red. But 6 mana, 4 damage to your opponent. Wipe the board with Kaya's Wrath at instant speed on your opponent's end step.
Oh boy,
really good.
Especially with all the afterlife you're going to be playing in that deck.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
I gotta say, guys, I'm really excited for this set. There's a lot of powerful cards.
There's a ton of powerful cards.
I think that Standard is going to be really fun. I myself am pulling back from Modern to focus primarily on Standard for at least the next few months.
Get some spicy brews going.
Oh yeah, you know it.
I'm mainly a Modern player, and I'm kind of getting excited for Standard at this point.
Yeah, I think Electro Dominance will see play in EDH.
Absolutely. There are. I would say that there are more 0 mana spells that are good in EDH. You also have more ramp inherently. It's a format about doing big things. So if I can kill your big thing and drop my big thing in play at the same time, it seems good. Also, there are some decks. There are decks in EDH built around X spells already. You have Roshi Meander, who taps for mana for X spells, and you have the most important one is Mizzix, who just continues to make your X spells bigger and bigger. And in that deck, you can very easily blow something up and then drop an Ulamog into play. Very easily.
I just can't wait to cast Electro Dominance with Mirari's Conjecture in play.
Well, it's going to be a really exciting couple weeks in Magic while we figure out this new set. Make sure to come out to your local pre-release January 19th and 20th this coming weekend. And we'll be back at you next week with another Top 10.